hard to
See
find.
if they're ready.
Generally.
Well, this will be, yep, she's number one. Number two is going to be Bay Street.
Normally it's done in writing, like a
Well, I'm just looking
motion
at any of them.
that has the case style on it and the request and the reasons why. Normally it's in writing.
4 and
But I
5.
mean,
will
yeah,
be-
He'll
here's
probably
a
talk
list
to
of
us
them.
about that. I was just asking about
Oh.
it. What was, he's gonna have to tell us what
Number
was in the
8.
email for the request.
You like to read?
And 4 and 5.
I would like to at least at one
Unless it's
point
like-
know
Well,
what.
the lawyer can make the decision on his own, but, you know, you can do it verbally, you
Right.
can do it in writing, but we'll see what he's done. It's my understanding he hasn't filed any type of motion, other than send an email.
Just
So,
this one.
and by the way, Becky is the one that makes that decision. But
I'm sure
Yeah,
It's not a board
it's not a board decision, yeah, okay.
If we ever wanted to see what 8.8-40 was and all that,
Where's the website we use?
Yeah, I guess-
Unicode?
I just want to make sure that he's ready to go. Steve, are you ready? It's 2:00.
Yes, .com, and I'll explain the rest of it later.
It is 2 p.m., April 12th, and I call the Code Enforcement Board of the City of Tarpon Springs meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Archer,
Here.
Mr. Weeks,
Here.
Ms. Dabbs. Here. Ms. Wade. Here. Mr. Kramer,
Here.
Mr. Robinson,
Here.
Ms. Norfleet.
here.
Second, please, your roll call.
Mr. Trask, would you please give the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Would everyone
to.
please stand?
Heavenly Father, we seek blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. We pray that our work this afternoon will find favor in your sight. This we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I will now read the Code Enforcement Board hearing procedure. It is the intention of this board to promote, protect, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Tarpon Springs by providing an equitable, effective, and inexpensive method of enforcing various codes within the city of Tarpon Springs. Any aggrieved party may appeal a final administrative order of this board to the circuit court. Such appeal shall be filled within 30 days of the execution of the order to be appealed. Florida Statute 286.0105 requires any party appealing a decision of this board to have a record of the proceedings to support such an appeal. The procedure of the board is as follows. First, the city presents its witnesses and exhibits, after which the alleged violator is able to ask the city's witnesses any specific questions regarding their testimony. Secondly, the alleged violator is allowed to make a presentation and present his or her witnesses and exhibits. Then the city can question the alleged violator's witnesses. After both rounds of testimony, both on the part of the city and the part of the alleged violator, each party is asked to give a closing argument, first by the city and then by the alleged violator. After those three steps are taken, this board will close the public hearing portion of the case to discuss it and take appropriate action. Before we begin the public hearings, we will ask all potential witnesses to please stand up and be sworn in by the secretary of the board. So if you're going to be speaking, would you please stand and raise your right hand for the secretary?
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give us the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And we ask that all cell phones be turned off. We ready for the first?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, there is a change in the order from the board to know. We're going to do number 1, then we're going to go to number 3, I believe it is.
Number 4.
Number 4. Number 4 will be number 2. And number 2 and 3 will be at the end. Okay? Okay, case number 17-8000708 at 814 Lincoln Avenue, Afreda Ingram. Is there anyone here from? Okay, would you like to come down and sign in, and please have a seat? Okay, you're going to speak, come on down and have a seat. Would you please give your name and your relationship to the property? Is that on? Hard
You
to
could
hear
pull the microphone closer so we can hear you, please. Just, yeah, perfect. Hang on a second.
There's no cable in the back of it.
So sorry.
That's why it's not working. Got to plug it in.
The cable.
He's upstairs. Do you want him to come in? He's coming.
Stand by technical difficulties.
Sorry. Here he comes. Thank you.
We're live.
Okay, you want to give your name and your relationship to the property, please?
My name is Alfreda Ingram. I am the owner of 814 Lincoln Avenue, Tarpon Springs, Florida.
Do you have any objection to the city's documents and photos being put in for evidence?
No, I don't, but I would like to have the closing with it because I finished the documents that was on these pictures.
So the question
The
for you
cleanup.
right now is with the documents that
No.
have been handed to you, is there any objection to those? You'll have an opportunity to talk
No, I
about
don't.
them and present any additional evidence that you'd like once the city is finished.
No, I don't.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Okay, so I just ask the clerk to receive these documents and pose them to evidence when they get to you. Okay, Officer Gasson, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am. Officer Steve Gasson, City of Tarpon Springs Police Department Code Enforcement. Been so employed in code enforcement since 2015. The case before the board today is 17-800000708. The property address is 814 Lincoln Avenue. Property owner listed is Alfreda Ingram. Exhibit number 1 going before the board are all of the photographs, to include inspection photographs that I've taken of the structure and the property. Exhibit number 2 are all of my notices, to include the notice of violation and notice of hearing. Exhibit number 3 are any administrative docs, to include case summary, property appraiser, and tax collector's database information, and any emails. Exhibit number 4 is the affidavit of posting and a copy of the sign. All of the photographs and exhibits that were given to the violator are exact copies of what's being presented to the board. All notices were mailed to the property owner of record as determined by the Pinellas County property appraiser and tax collector databases. All notice of violations and notice of hearings are sent via certified mail return receipt as well as first-class mail. And, Madam Chairman, if you would, please accept all the exhibits into the record, which I believe you've already have. This case originally started earlier in 2017, but we had some internal issues with addressing and things like that, so that case was closed out. We opened a new case with the proper addressing with the city in November of 2017. The property's in very poor condition. It structurally does not appear sound. Windows are broken. The house is leaning. There's trash and debris on the property, including the porch area. And structure in the back, which was kind of a shed area, is dilapidated and appears that it may fall down. November 20th, we mailed the notice of violation, both certified return receipt as well as first class to the property owner listed. On March 7th, we did have some conversation in between there with the property owner needing some time to work things out. So we extended it to March 7th. So we went about 4 months. Conducted the reinspection. The house issue still hadn't been addressed at that point in time. It's still in very poor condition. and appears unstable. There's still trash and debris on the property. The property is occupied, but not by the owner. It's occupied by another person. And we didn't, at that point in time, have the record of who that was, so our notices all went to the property owner. On March 27th, I conducted a reinspection. At this point in time, I went with the city's temporary building official. We had a change in the city where we lost our building inspector, so we were kind of in limbo. We got a contract building official. He's the only person that can conduct these type of building inspections, and he became available to us on March 27th. I went out with one of the other city building inspectors, Keith Mead. We conducted an inspection of the building. The building official immediately tagged the building as unsafe and condemned it on the spot. That notice is included in the record. The red notice that's included was signed by Mr. Wilcox. And at that point in time, no one else was allowed inside of the house due to the condition. Basically, what they explained to me is the front of the house actually fell off the foundation. You can see in some of the pictures of the south side of the house where there's a change in the angle of the trim. That's not architectural. It's because it's fallen down and it's at risk of collapsing. The front door has about a 6-inch angular gap in it where the frame is different than the door because the building has changed direction more or less. So for that reason, we brought it before to get it condemned so nobody would have any issues inside of the house. At that, as I stated, it was posted on the 27th of 2018 of March. On March 31st, we posted the property, and an affidavit of the posting was completed. On April 11th, I conducted the final inspection, and there's the trash and debris had been cleaned off the front porch as they're attempting. I've met with Miss Ingram a couple of times, and they're working on, but they also have a side legal process that's occurring that's kind of muddying the water with this whole thing. And if she wants to get into explaining it, the long and short of it is the occupant of the house they attempted to evict him. The eviction was stayed by the court, and they have some other further hearings going on, are deeming it unsafe, more or less, for lack of a better term, evicted the tenant because nobody could occupy the structure. She's working on attempting to get it demolished. She's been working with the city to try to comply, but she has this side issue of the occupants. And I believe the occupants are actually here today. So basically before the board, I have a case of 8-40, which is a duty to maintain private property, which the sub of 838 doesn't allow you to have a dilapidated structure or unfit for human habitation, as well as 8-52, which is covering the debris and maintenance of that property. And a lot of it's been done, but there's still they can't get it all cleaned up because of the occupancy issue. So those two are before the board right now, 840 and 852. Just for the record, as I stated, we had contact with the owner. Our green cards were return signed, so they are in the file. And at this point, I have nothing further.
Okay, does the board have any questions of Officer Gasson?
Did I understand you correctly that there is no one inside the building?
Legally. I mean, there's not supposed to be. It's posted. I believe it's partially boarded up to prevent anybody from going in there. Had some conversation on the side beforehand with somebody who's helping out the occupant. They're trying to get some time to get into the house to get her belongings out. But I can't be the person that allows that, so.
Any other questions? Ms. Ingram, do you have any questions for Officer Gasson?
Yes.
Questions at this time?
I have a question also.
I'll need your name
Okay.
and your relationship.
First
with the
first of all, good afternoon. My name is Nantes Harris, and that's my mother. The question at hand from Mr. Gatson is, due to the violations and also the allegations, is anything been addressed and completed since then? Like these pictures from 2017, we done cleaned up so many times that this is comical just to look at these pictures from a year later. That's really the question on hand is like the attempt to complete the allegations and the violations.
I stated that, and I actually closed out 822, which is the accumulation of trash. So, yeah, absolutely, you guys have done a ton of work. I've talked to the city about making sure you were able to get the spring cleanup so you could get all those items you brought out to the curb picked up. So, yeah, and I stated that you guys have worked on it, but the issue still remains. Compliance is kind of on or off. if you will.
It's a sensitive case. It's
Well,
pretty
that
much.
and you're either compliant or you're not compliant. It's-
Exactly.
And we appreciate you've done the work, and that's why I complied you on the one violation of 822, which is the accumulation of trash.
And one more question. Since the water has been cut off, the question at hand is how do the trash pick up if we don't have no
Took
water?
care of that yesterday.
Okay.
The meter's being put back in. We have to deal with some things internally within the city. The meter was put back in, but it's locked out, but that gives you guys the ability to have trash pickup. So that part's been taken care of, mainly because you guys went through the effort of cleaning it up, but we're kind of stonewalled by not having the ability to have trash.
The building is not boarded up. We left it open for the defendant or the occupant to get her belongings out of there. Never been boarded
Oh,
up.
I saw what looked like a border.
Yeah, we
cross
just put it
body.
up there. This for
okay. That's all I saw.
For anybody else, but it's for her. She could just move it out the way. It's not nailed up or nothing.
Understood.
More questions? Just questions at this time?
No, I have a comment. My name is Juliana Day, and I'm the sister of Alfreda Ingram.
Hold on a second, ma'am. This is questions. Do you have questions of Officer
Oh,
Gasson?
Officer- no, I
If
do
not,
not.
we're going to let,
I'm fine with him.
Okay. Ms. Ingram, did you want
You have a
to
question? No.
state your case now?
At this time, if all the allegations have been, I don't know, dropped on the side until I go to court, I am going to court. So do I talk further with you, Officer Gasson, or do I come to the board?
Well, I explained to the board that you have a legal process going on, and one of those things would be a time frame. If the board has to go through their process of determining if those violations still exist, that's the first thing they're going to do. And then based on that, there's conversation about a time frame and things like that.
Okay, so we to the time frame now?
Not yet.
I don't know.
Pretty much what's the process for the demolition?
What is the process?
We're kind of in it. What's going to happen now is the board's going to rule if whether the two violations that I brought before the board are still in effect, which is 840 and 852, which deals with the structure being dilapidated and there's some debris on the property.
Okay.
If they find that to be the case, then they'll move into a part where they'll determine kind of what's like a penalty phase and how much time do you need to come fully into compliance with those two
All right.
violations.
I have two answers already for that. I have a demolition crew already scheduled for the house. And legally, I have 20, I'll be back in court 20 days. So 20 days from now, I'll be back in court, and I have a demolition crew.
Okay.
So
Anything else you want to?
what do we go from here?
Does the board have any questions they'd like to ask, Ms.?
Because I don't know.
I don't have anything further.
All right, you want to summarize?
question,
Oh, you do have a question? Okay,
took me a minute.
go ahead, sir.
How long after the demolition do you need in order to make sure that these other two items are,
Well, the other two items
that I'm
will
talking
be
about?
finished after the demolition because it is the house.
Okay.
These
Yeah.
items are the house.
Yeah, it is the house that,
So you're
you know.
saying that it'll be done in 20 days, or do you need
I-
30 days?
I have to go back into court, a whole nother situation. hmm
So you need more than 20 days. You
Yeah.
need 30 days
Yeah,
or 45. which-
maybe,
Excuse me. First of all, we still got to get the cable. The line's got to be rolled back. We got it's
yeah,
procedures.
we call for that.
We
We,
got 6 colonies of
understand.
bees in the house. 6 colonies of
yeah,
bees.
I have,
The bee got to come out.
So my
The house is
question is,
dilapidated. It's
okay, come
how
on.
long do you think it will take until you're ready for us
I
to
got,
revisit?
I got a B guy coming, Mr. Tigerilli, Mike Tigerilli. He been in the hospital. I called him. He will be out, and he said give him a week or two for him to, he had heart surgery. So we're gonna be going to court, and the court date have not been set. On my record, I have the judge name on there and everything, and I guess he can give you more information when is the court date, because it have not been set. So me, myself, I got the demolition crew, and that'll take care of everything. But I have to go to court first, so
Yeah.
that's where we at.
How many days do you need?
Maybe
Can I address that?
60 days.
Really, she can't say how many days because the judge put a stop on it until that 20 days is up, until the lawyers get together and do what they gotta do. We can't touch the house. If we demolish the house now, we'll be contempt of court.
Okay, great.
We can touch the house. I can touch the house,
You
but
can't tear it down.
yes, I can tear it down. They have
We
to,
can tear it down today, we can tear it down today. We gotta go through the process. We gotta get the
Yeah, you
deeds
answered
out.
my question.
right, okay, thank you.
It's the court.
I answered this question. Thank you.
Justin, do you have anything to summarize?
'Cause,
I don't have anything else.
yeah,
Do you have anything else you'd like to?
no, it's up to y'all. It's up to y'all guys. What,
Okay. So the public portion of this case is now closed, and we're ready to entertain a motion.
I make a motion. I move based on the testimony, evidence, and facts presented with the law at the time of the alleged violations, sections 8-40 and 8-52 of the Code and Ordinances of the City of Tarpon Springs was in force and effect. The respondent was in violation thereof.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Norfleet,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Yes.
Ms. Dabbs,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mrs. Archer.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now we'll go to the penalty phase. Officer Gaston, do you have a recommendation for time frame or daily fine?
Based on, and like I said, with this court issue that's going on between them, they go back to court in 20 days. The house right now is not occupied, so the building engineer said he's not concerned about it falling on a neighboring house or anything like that. So based on, we know how fast the court system works sometimes, probably 60 days is reasonable. Beyond that point, they're working on it. $50 a day, I think is reasonable at this point.
Okay. Do you
Make
have
a
any,
motion.
that's ridiculous.
do you have any input on the,
Speak $50 a day, and when we go into a sensitive subject like this with the court hearing, that's absurd. Be fined $50
$50 a
when you
day.
know somebody else is occupying the house, and it's really the cause of the damage. That's crazy.
Oh, it'll be after the 60 days?
Speaking and
So you're gonna give me 60 days, then after the 60 days? Okay, I'm still not pleased with
If it
that.
turns out that this court thing gets dragged out, you'll need to contact us to appeal that or make some request for delay.
Okay,
Okay,
that's fine.
okay.
okay, we're ready to entertain a motion for this?
I move the respondent shall have until June the 11th to bring the property into compliance in section codes 8-40 and 8-52, or suffer a fine of $25 a day thereafter and remain in violation of the code section.
Motion's been made and seconded for 60 days or $25 a day?
No, it's June 11th.
June 11th.
Yeah, that's more than 60 days.
Okay.
April, May, June. Yeah, a couple days more.
Any
I
discussion?
don't think it's June 11th.
Yes, ma'am.
Because his microphone does not pick up very well. Was the $25 a day? Is that what you
Yes,
said?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay.
Roll call.
Ms. Norfleet,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yeah.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Yes.
Ms. Dabbs,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mrs. Archer.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Yeah. So, Mrs. Ingram, I want to explain to you what has just happened so that you understand the process. So, the Code Enforcement Board has found a violation of sections 8-40 and 8-52. You have until June 11th to bring the property into compliance. Should you fail to bring the property into compliance by June 11th, then there is going to be a $25 a day fine assessed for every day that it remains in non-compliance. my suggestion to you is that you keep in contact with Officer Gasson and let him know how things are going, and if the compliance date needs to be extended and they have no objection, then he'll bring it back, the case back. Otherwise, you'll be back at this code enforcement board to discuss the non-compliance aspect of it, probably at the July meeting. You understand?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you.
Have a nice day.
This? You can have this. It was on the- No, this is the whole thing. Take this.
We go on to the next case, which is number 4.
Just change the numbers on you.
Case 18-800000052 at 316 Bay Street, Donna Fatalitas. Is there anyone here for this case?
Yes.
Would you like to come up, sir? And please state your name and your relationship to the property.
Michael Fatalitas, and Donna's my mother.
Your mother is the owner?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we're ready.
Officer Steve Gasson, City of Tarpon Springs Police Department Code Enforcement. Case before the board is 18-800000052. The property address is 316 Bay Street. Property owners listed as Donna Fatalitas. Before the board, exhibit number 1 are going to be all of the photographs to include my inspections. Exhibit number 2 are all of my notices, including the notice of violations and notice of hearing. Exhibit number 3 are any administrative documents, including my case summary, the Pinellas County Property Appraiser and Tax Collector database information, and any emails. Exhibit number 4 is an affidavit of the posting and a copy of the sign. All the photographs and exhibits that were given to the violator are exact copies of what's being presented to the board. All notices were mailed to the property owner of record as determined by the Pinellas County Property Appraiser and Tax Collector database. All my notice of violation and notice of hearings were mailed both certified return receipt as well as first-class mail. And, Madam Chairman, if you would please accept all the exhibits into the record as evidence.
Yes, and I need to ask, do you have any objections to the city of documents and photographs being put into evidence?
No.
Okay.
February 30th this year was my initial action. It was sparked by a citizen complaining about on a trailer out front. It was partially on the sidewalk. At that point in time, left a door hanger for the property owner to move the boat. I conducted a reinspection on February 7th. The boat was still there, and at that point in time, I observed some other violations, which included a large Brazilian pepper tree in the front yard on the south side of the house, trash and debris being stored in front of a fence on the south side of the tree. At that point, we issued a notice of violation via certified mail and first-class mail to the property owner on, that was on February 12th. On February 23rd, I conducted another reinspection of the property. Observed that the boat was gone, but the rest of the violation still remained. On February 23rd, we issued a final notice of violation, both certified mail, return receipt requested, as well as first-class mail. On March 14th, I conducted another reinspection. There was no change. At that point, we decided to put it before the board. The interesting thing was I found out the boat had been moved to the alley. Because of another complaint down the street, I ended up going down the alley and found there was a large amount of debris in the backyard that was visible from the alley. You'll see in some of the photographs of the back door, the bunch of trash up against it. There's been some work done on that. Some of the trash has gone down, but I inspected it yesterday, and there was still some trash back there, tires, some other things in the backyard. And then the front yard still has the Brazilian pepper tree with the debris underneath of it. So that was my final inspection that was conducted on April 11th. On March 31st, I posted the property and the affidavit of posting was signed. We did finally have some contact with the owner's son, I think just a few days ago. Prior to that, we hadn't had any. Our notice of violation was returned to us unsigned. So at this point before the board, I have a violation of City Ordinance 13303, which is a tree exemption. Basically, it states that any property that has a certificate of occupancy issued shall forever maintain and prevent any regrowth of Brazilian pepper trees on the property. This house is an occupied residence, so therefore it has a certificate of occupancy issued by the city. So therefore, he's required to not have any Brazilian pepper trees on the property. The next violation is 822, which is the accumulation of trash. That basically is kind of self-explanatory. You can see in the photographs there's trash on the property that needs to be cleaned up. 8-40 is the duty to maintain private property. Generally speaking, it's a public nuisance when you have trash and debris and other things on your property. And 852 is the nuisance prohibition. So requires you to pick up anything that's defined as debris, which can be unused equipment, tires, a myriad of things defined in the ordinance. In a nutshell, it requires you to clean up your property and keep it clean. So those are the three violations before the board. I stated initially there was a boat violation, but the boat had been taken care of, so it's not before the board. And that's all I have at this point.
Okay, which one is, I'm sorry, this is so fast. Which one is okay? You said there's 3 violations now.
4.
So it's still the
13303, which is deals with the tree, the Brazilian pepper tree. 8-22, which is the accumulation of trash. 8-40 and 8-52.
Okay. Does the board have any questions for Officer Gaston? Mr. Fatalitas, do you have any questions for Officer Gaston?
No questions. It's just basically my mom, she,
Just questions.
oh,
I'll let you
No.
speak in a few minutes. Do you have any questions?
no.
No? Okay, so if you'd like to go ahead and then give your testimony.
Yeah, my mom, she, we've had that house for almost about 100 years, basically, throughout our family, and my brother and my 2 younger sisters are helping my mom now. She has dementia really bad now, and it's turned into Alzheimer's. So she's not living there now, and basically we've been trying to get the house fixed up inside. I mean, the kitchen was remodeled not too long ago, and it's like we don't know what to do with the stuff, and basically, my sisters have been going in there and figuring out, what to do with it. And long story short, we just need to get another dumpster there, to get rid of the remaining. So we've already had 2 dumpsters there already. And I work 16 hours a day, every day. I'm never there. And my brother and sisters both, were between them taking care of my mom. We just haven't had time. So I just need a little bit more time. And my sister had said that they're having a spring cleanup, I guess, at the end of this month. So, that may help us too, so we can get some of this stuff out to the curb as well. But other than that, it's just been about time. It's not that, we're happy about it either. So if I could maybe get a little bit more time, maybe till the end of this month, we'll have it all in compliance.
Board have any questions for Mr. Fatalitas? Mr. Fatalitas, how much time do you think you need?
Well, when is the spring cleanup? The end of this month?
April 22nd.
But the end of the month would be fine. I already have someone to cut the tree. They were going to come out, and it was raining all day, so they have to reschedule. But they're going to take out the tree for me, the pepper tree completely. And then I guess, does it have to be stump ground too?
You got to just prevent it from regrowing.
Just from coming back?
Yeah, you can chemically treat it.
Okay.
Is that it? Officer Gaston, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay. Would you like to summarize?
I think I've covered it. Thank you.
Do you have anything else you'd like to state, sir?
No, thanks.
All right, we'll close the public portion of the case, and the board will entertain a motion.
I move based on the testimony, evidence, and facts presented in law that at the time of the alleged violation, sections 8-40, 8-52, 133.03, and 8-22 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Tarpon Springs was in force and effect, the respondents were in violation thereof.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Norfleet,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Yes?
Mrs. Dabbs,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mrs. Archer,
Yes.
motion carries.
Officer Gaston, do you have a recommendation for time frame or daily fine?
Based on what he says, if we can look at May 5th and $25 a day.
Have a motion?
I move that the respondent shall have until May 5th to bring the property into compliance with code sections 8-40, 8-52, 133.03, and 8-22, or suffer a fine of $25 per day for each day thereafter that the respondent remains in violation of said code sections.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Norfleet,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Yes.
Mrs. Dabbs,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mrs. Archer.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so Mr. Fatalidis, you have until May 5th to bring the property into compliance, or you will suffer a fine of $25 a day, and an order will be issued and mailed to you within 10 days.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Good luck.
Thanks.
Madam Chairman, I have one out of order. Number 2 is here, 535 East Oakwood Street.
Yeah, she needs. Yeah. Okay. You want to state your name, ma'am, and
Good afternoon. My name is Janaris McNeil.
You weren't sworn in, miss? Will you please stand and raise your right hand? Sorry. You swear that your testimony you're about to give us whole truth, nothing but the truth? Thank you very much.
And are you the property owner?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, this is case number 17-800000763 at 535 East Oakwood Street. Janoris McNeil.
Yes.
Okay. Officer Gaston?
Thank you, Officer Steve Gasson, City of Tarpon Springs Police Department Code Enforcement. This is case 17-800000763, the property address 535 East Oakwood Street. The listed property owner is Janoris McNeil. Going before the board, exhibit number 1 are all of my photographs, including my inspections. Exhibit number 2 are all of my notices, to include notice of violation and notice of hearing.
We don't even
Exhibit
have-
number,
We need the exhibits.
sorry.
And let me ask, do you have any objection to the exhibits and photos being put into evidence?
No. The only thing is, these photos was taken last year, December. The property has been cleaned since.
Okay, they'll explain that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I don't have any. Continuing on, as I stated, exhibit number 2 are all of my notices, to include notice of violation and notice of hearing. Exhibit number 3 are my administrative docs, to include any emails, a copy of the case summary, property appraiser and tax collector's records. And exhibit number 4 is the affidavit of posting and a copy of the sign. All the photographs and exhibits that were given to the violator are exact copies of what's being presented to the board. All my notices were mailed to the property owner of record as determined by the Pinellas County Property Appraiser and Tax Collector databases. All notice of violations and notice of hearings are sent via certified return receipt mail as well as first class mail. And Madam Chairman, if you would, please accept these exhibits into the record as evidence.
Yes.
This case started on December 16th of 2017. I was conducting an inspection on some neighboring property and discovered numerous violations on this property. At the time, there were 2 vehicles parked on the property which appear inoperative or may have expired registration. I was unable to see them based on the way they were parked. The sidewalk along the east side had been covered up with some tree debris, needed to be cleaned off. The yard has numerous appliances in it. There was some other debris stored on the property, old gym equipment, fence pieces, things like that. Trash cans were in front of the house in the front yard in plain view and not stored properly. On December 18th, we mailed a courtesy letter to the property owner requesting compliance. On January 3rd, I conducted a reinspection, and basically at that time there was no change. On that same date, on January 3rd, the notice of violation was mailed via certified mail return receipt, as well as first class mail. Conducted another reinspection on January 31st of this year, and there was no change. And at that point, we decided to send a final notice of violation. That was sent on February 23rd, or I'm sorry, that was sent on the 6th of February. On February 23rd, I conducted another inspection, and there was basically no change at that point in time, and at that point determined to go to the Code Enforcement Board. February 26th, the notice of hearing was mailed, certified, return receipt, as well as first class. And on March 31st, I posted the property, and an affidavit was signed. I did conduct another inspection yesterday. I also drove by again the property this morning. We had gotten information that the one Chevy truck on the property had been legally registered. I can't determine if it's operable, but at that point in time, I complied that one violation of 40.00. There's still a car parked in the backyard behind the house. Conveniently, a piece of fence material was placed up on it so that it was less visible from the street, but it's still clearly visible. No registration's been presented, and there's been nothing presented to code enforcement to determine if the vehicle's either operable or registered. One of the photographs, you'll notice there was a washing machine that was right in front of one of the doors. That's now on the west side of the house. It's been moved there. The refrigerator's gone from what I can see. The old gym equipment is still there. When I drove by, the trash cans were still there. So before the board, I have violations of 8-16, which are the pre-collection practices of the proper placement of your trash cans prior to trash pickup. 8-40, the duty to maintain private property. 8-52, the nuisance prohibitions for storing debris on your property. And one violation of 40.00 for inoperable vehicles, which would be the small backyard that you can see in the photographs. So as she stated, those photographs were taken a few months ago. As I also added the pickup truck that's along the west side, I complied that violation. There has been a few things done, but it is not, in my opinion, anywhere near compliance. And Madam Chairman, I have nothing further.
And Bobby, if you'll place those photographs into evidence.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, does the board have any questions for Officer Gasson? Okay. Ms. McNeil, do you have any questions at this time for Officer Gasson?
No. Well, yes, I do. The gray car is not registered, and it was blocked from a fence, but the fence came down on Hurricane Irma. So I brought fencing to enclose it, but when I talked to the lady at the code enforcement, she said I needed a permit, so I didn't come up here for a permit because I didn't know how this was going to go.
The question?
Oh,
It's just
Lord.
questions at this time.
Okay, questions.
You don't have any questions? It's okay.
Yeah,
if you do.
okay. Would I be able to put a fence around the gray car?
No. The
I
code,
had a fence
yeah, the
up.
code says that it has to be in a completely enclosed structure.
Right, and
like
I
a
brought-
garage. Yeah,
I brought more fencing to completely enclose it.
it's got to have a roof. Completely enclosed.
Okay, would you like to present your case now?
Okay. As far as the gray truck, it is registered, and he said that is complied. Both vehicles are not inoperable. It's just the gray one. Like I say, it was behind a fence until Irma. And then also, I have been trying to clean up the property, and the one gym that is left, my brother used that, so I couldn't get rid of it. But due to my health reasons, I need more time because even though I did some work a couple days ago, I ended up in the hospital. I'm still going through treatment, and I would like to get through that successfully. So I do need more time to get my property in order.
Board have any questions for Ms.
I
McNeil?
do, I'm always concerned when I see a refrigerator out because
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
gone.
secured.
That's gone. And when it was out, I had taken the doors off, but that is gone because I've cleared some of the stuff out, because I also have, not as time restraint with this, but also due to my health, I have extra expenses that I have to pay every week. So I didn't have access to have someone to help me to clear everything. So, and then I just cleared some stuff Saturday, and also Saturday, I ended up in the hospital. So that's why I say I'm trying to get through the therapy. And basically, I need more time because being that I ended up in the hospital, that's a factor that is affecting my health too.
Anybody
Getting
have
out
any
there.
other questions, any on the board? How much time do you think you'll need, Ms. McNeil?
Well, if everything goes well, I'll be done with the therapy May 28th. And then they said a month off and then radiation. So truthfully, probably 4 to 6 months because I'm trying to get through one thing at a time.
Officer Gasson, do you have any questions for Ms. McNeil?
No, I do not.
Okay, would you like to summarize?
No, ma'am, I think we covered it. Thank you.
Do you have anything else you'd like to state, Ms. McNeil?
Well, when I got the complaint about the garbage can, I was really shocked because I was like, wow, this is a new ordinance. Because I've been there 24 years and my garbage cans sat out front. They get put to the road. My stepfather, he takes them in. And I was like, is this a new ordinance for the new year? Because for 24 years, that's what they always sat up front. But they are in compliance because we put a bag out. So I felt like I was being picked on.
So we'll close the public portion of this case now, and we'll entertain a motion.
I move based on the testimony, evidence, and facts presented in the law that at the time of the alleged violation, sections 8-16, 8-40, 8-52, and 840-.00 of the code ordinances of the city of Tarpon Springs were in effect and enforced. The respondent was in violation thereof.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Norfleet,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Yes.
Mrs. Dabbs,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mrs. Archer.
Yes. Officer Gasson, do you have a recommendation for time frame?
I think based on, what she stated as far as her health concerns, probably 45 days would be reasonable and $25 a day for the fine.
Did you suggest 45?
45. 6 weeks.
Okay. We have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that the respondent shall have until May 30th to bring the property into compliance with code sections 8-16, 8-40, 8-52, and 40.00, or suffer a fine of $25 a day for each day thereafter the respondent remains in violation of said code sections.
You have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Norfleet,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yeah.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Yes.
Mrs. Dabbs,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mrs. Archer.
Yes. So, Mrs. McNeil, you have until May 30th to get the property into compliance, or after that, you will suffer a $25 a day fine. An order of this will be issued to you within 10 days and mailed to you, okay? And wish you luck. Are we doing 4? Officer Gasson?
This will be 595 Peninsula. Will be the next one.
Oh,
We have nobody here for the Boyer one. We'll do that one.
We didn't hear what number?
I'm sorry?
Number 3?
We are doing 595 Peninsula, which I
Oh.
believe
Number 8.
is number 8.
okay. Okay. All right, case number 18-800000108 at 595 Peninsula Avenue, Maria Kuyas.
They might not have been.
Okay, would you, have you been sworn in? Oh. No?
No.
You understand?
Your son was, okay. Will you stand up? It's fine. You can sit there. It's fine. It's fine. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You swore. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Would you please state your name and your relationship to the property?
Okay, my name is Maria Cullas, and I own the house 595 Peninsula Avenue in Tarpon Springs, Florida.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any objections to any documents or photographs being
No, not at all.
put into evidence? Okay, thank you. Officer?
All right, the case before the board, just so you understand, is here to be established. It's case 18-800000108. The address is 595 Peninsula Avenue. Maria Kazuris is the listed property owner. I'm Officer Steve Gasson, City of Tarpon Springs Code Enforcement. Been so employed since 2015. What's the matter?
The name?
Maria Koulias, sorry.
Okay.
Koulias.
Okay.
Exhibit number 1 going before the board are all the photographs to include my inspections, also a copy of the police report that was written by Detective Chris Walganary, who is the Pinellas County Narcotics Task Force. Actually, I have a copy. You should have. Did you put that one? Did you put the police report in there? Yeah, it's in the exhibit. It's actually exhibit number 5, I'm sorry. But it is in there. Exhibit number 1 are all my photographs. Exhibit number 2 are all the notices to include the notice of violation and notice of hearing. Exhibit number 3, administrative docs to include the case summary, the property appraiser and tax collector records, attorney letters, and any emails. Exhibit number 4 is the affidavit of posting and a copy of the sign. And as I stated, exhibit number 5 is a copy of the sheriff's report from Detective Walganary. All the photographs and exhibits that were given to the violator are exact copies of what's being presented to the board. All of my notices were mailed to the property owner of record based on the Pinellas County Property Appraiser and Tax Collector databases. All the notice of violations and notice of hearings were sent certified mail, return receipt, as well as first class mail. And Madam Chairman, if you would accept all these exhibits into the record as evidence.
Yes. Bobby?
Yes, ma'am, I will.
My aspect of this case started on February 22nd. The initial inspection was conducted by nature of the fact I'm a member of the Tarpon Springs Police Department SWAT team, and we executed a search warrant via the Pinellas County Narcotics Detectives for drug trafficking at the address of 595 Peninsula. That search warrant was executed by our SWAT team and the Pinellas County Narcotics Task Force. There was a large amount of narcotics seized from the residence, and the residence was being used to package and sell drugs. At least 2 of the 3 sons were directly involved with the violations, of which the mother, Maria Koulias, was aware. The 2 sons that were involved are Mahali Mugros, he's a white male, February 15th, 1979 is his birth date, and Mikai Koulias, he's a white male, 4/22 of 1982. At the time, both the sons were charged with multiple charges, felonies and misdemeanors relating to the activities in the residence. On February 22nd of this year, the notice of violation and notice of hearing were mailed certified in first class. On February 27th, we got a deferral from Jerry requesting a different court date or a hearing date to today because he had some other obligations. On March 31st, I posted the property and an affidavit of posting was signed. On April 11th, basically was my final inspection, but as I stated, they're at this point in time in compliance. They haven't had any other drug sales or search warrants at the house. So I have it before the board to be established for a violation of 8-40, which encompasses City Ordinance Definition 838, which talks about nuisances, and those nuisances include specifically any criminal act committed on the premises or allowing said criminal acts to occur. The sheriff's office report that was written by Detective Walganary, he outlines his case fairly thoroughly, and especially what was retrieved from the house. But inside of that report, he does have conversation with Miss Koulias regarding the drugs inside the house and her knowledge of them. Also, she states in the report she's in constant fear of both of her boys, Mikai and Mahali, when they're under the influence of illegal narcotics, but stated there's nothing that she can do because the boys have gotten physical with her in the past, and she's been struck by the boys. She states she has a prescription for pain medication. We're not denying that. Just as a result of the search, Mikhail Koulias was charged with trafficking in fentanyl, approximately 8 grams of fentanyl in the house. It required us on the SWAT team to be basically dressed in hazardous materials gear because of the danger of fentanyl. Trafficking in amphetamines, he had 29.4 grams, and possession of cocaine, 4 grams. Mihaly Mugros was charged with felony possession of marijuana, approximately 90 grams, possession of cocaine, 9 grams, possession of MDMA, 8 grams, and a violation of an injunction by possessing a firearm in the house. There's also pending charges for possession of fentanyl, possession of psychedelic mushrooms, and possession of steroids. These items were sent to the Pinellas County Forensic Lab for analysis. So, as I stated under 838, nuisance property injures or endangers the comfort, repose, health, and safety of others. I think that's fairly clear. We had numerous complaints about this property and people wandering around the neighborhood around there after allegedly purchasing drugs from the property. That's what basically created the nexus for the search warrant that was executed, and the drugs and items were found inside the house. So that's, at this time, all I have.
Board have any questions for Officer Gasson?
Yeah, I have one. Can you explain again, this is 8-40 is the violation. You mentioned 838. I'm not sure I understand the relationship.
I can explain that. 8-40, I'll read it for you. It says, no person owning, leasing, operating, occupying, or having control of any premise within the city shall maintain, keep, or permit any nuisance as defined in 838 and as further defined in 841 affecting the citizens of the city. So then we go to 8-41, subsection C4, states the repeated attraction to the premises where the use and condition complained of is maintained by persons who, through frequent raucous or disorderly conduct, or through repeated disturbances of the peace, or in this case, or through violation of any law of the state, county, or city, adversely affect ordinary, reasonable, and reasonably behaved persons in the enjoyment and use of their property. So more or less the surrounding area. So that's 840 encompasses 838, which is another set of definitions, and 841, which is just one of a myriad of conditions. I just read the one that's basically applicable to this. In similarity, when we talk about a dilapidated structure, I use 840, but 841 has a separate definition that talks about dilapidated structures. So that's where I'm deriving it. 840 is the, for lack of a better term, the charging ordinance, which encompasses the two defined ordinances of 838 and 841.
Any other questions from the board? Ms. Koulias, do you have any questions for Officer Gasson?
Attorney
State your
Jerry
name.
Thelfilopoulos on behalf of Ms. Koulias. Yes, I do have some questions. Officer Gasson, you testified that drugs were being packaged and sold. Is that correct?
Based on the police report, yes.
Do you have any independent knowledge of that?
Based on my training and experience and being inside of the house, I would be led to agree with that conclusion by the numerous bottles that were in there. And as I stated, I don't have any personal knowledge of them being sold other than that transfer that knowledge through fellow police officers.
When you say numerous bottles, what bottles are you referring to?
They were prescription bottles, or they were empty prescription bottles. Many of them didn't have labels on them anymore. But again, I did a very cursory search of the interior of the house. The pictures that are included with this were provided by the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. I did walk through the house, but I was not part of the search team other than for people.
And when you testified that there was packaging, numerous packaging, you're referring to the prescription bottles?
I'm not. I'm referring back to what Detective Walganary stated in the charging aspect of the packaging, and I didn't include all of the 200 or 300 photographs. I certainly can get those, but
What was the packaging consisting of, if you know, if you don't?
I don't know.
And you also indicated that there were sales going on. Can you tell us one sale that occurred from that residence?
I cannot.
And you had testified that there were numerous complaints that were the nexus of the search warrant. Is that correct?
Yes.
Isn't it true that the actual search warrant was based on garbage pulls?
Okay.
Are you
I know
aware-
the police department had also obtained complaints regarding people under the influence that had, and when we spoke to them, purchased drugs from that house.
My question is, was the search warrant based on garbage pulls by law enforcement? If you know.
I don't know.
And you said there were numerous complaints. Could you tell us one person's name who complained?
Well, I'd have to go back through the police records, and I can certainly provide that to you.
But no, today's the date.
Today's the date. I don't have any of the names of those individuals. I was aware of calls for service that stemmed from that. So it's knowledge of the calls for service that are inside the CAD database.
And you also testified that Mihaly Mugros was charged with multiple offenses. Is that accurate?
Mihaly Mugros was charged with felony possession of marijuana, possession of cocaine, possession of MDMA, and a violation of an injunction by nature of possessing a firearm.
Have you seen the charging document in this case for Mihaly Mugros showing that he's only charged with possession of marijuana?
Nope, I'm going from the police report.
Would you like to see it?
No.
Okay. We'll introduce that at appropriate time. And it's your testimony. Did you talk to Mrs. Coulias concerning any of this?
No, I did not.
So it's based on what's in the report by another law enforcement officer?
And being inside of the house, hearing police calls come out for people from the area. The nuisance aspect of it is endangers or injures the comfort, repose, health, and safety of others. The fact that we executed a search warrant in hazmat gear into the house all by itself, if fentanyl fell in the front yard, would definitely be hazardous to the people around it. And that potential existed by the nature of the fact 8 grams of it were returned out of the house.
And do you know how that so-called fentanyl was packaged?
I have no idea, sir.
Let me ask you, under 841, which you pointed to, the nuisance conditions, number 4, I believe, is the subsection that you were reading or discussing. Was that accurate?
Yes, sir.
And it says the repeated attraction to the premises where the use or condition complained of is maintained by persons. What repeated attraction was there?
Well, there's a comma and an or, which changes it. The comma and or through violation of any law of the state, county, city adversely affect ordinary, responsible, and reasonably behaved persons in the enjoyment and use of their property. So there's 2 aspects. The or, from my grammatical experience, basically changes the context of it. And the repeated part, or committing the violation of any law.
So let me ask you this. If an individual, you know what Baker acting is, correct?
Yes, sir.
Somebody's a harm to themselves or to somebody else in society?
Yes, sir.
If an individual is repeatedly Baker acted from a residence, do you consider that a nuisance where you can bring a case under this code?
Theoretically. Well, it's a violation of any law. The Baker Act is it's an allowance for us because it's not a criminal charge. The Baker Act's not a criminal charge. It's a state statute that allows the police to do a certain thing.
What about somebody getting drunk in their own residence and being disorderly?
Theoretically, yes.
And have you ever done that before?
No, sir, I have not.
Are you aware that Miquez Coulias is an addict?
It would be an opinion, but I don't have firsthand experience.
You've never had any information that Miquez Coulias is an addict?
Not to me, no.
Do you have any information that Mrs. Coulias ever saw any of the drugs in the household?
Yeah, actually.
Where was the fentanyl at the residence?
I'd have to look at the police report, but I think it was recovered from Mackay's area of the house.
And where was that at? Please.
I'm not sure where his room was.
You said it's in the police report?
I didn't enter his room. I didn't enter his room.
I'm sorry?
I did not enter his room.
Okay, but you said it was in the police report, correct?
I said I'd have to check to see if it is.
If you need to refresh your memory, feel free to.
Yeah, I don't have any indication of where this is the basic summary search warrant report. It's not the itemized.
Okay, so do you know where the fentanyl was located?
No, I do not.
Do you know where the marijuana was located?
I know some of it was located in Mihaly's room because based on the report, she says, Maria explains that Mihaly does stay in the back southwest bedroom and smokes marijuana all day and has refused to allow her to come into his bedroom for the past year. Based on the fact that he smokes marijuana all day would kind of lead somebody to believe she was aware of it.
So where in the bedroom was it located?
I have no idea. I didn't enter his bedroom.
What about cocaine? Where was the cocaine located in the house?
All I know is that there was cocaine recovered where Mahali could be charged with it, so it would be an assumption.
What about MDMA, which is ecstasy? Where was that located?
Same response as before.
Which was?
I don't know.
So you don't know where these may or may not have been concealed then?
That's correct.
No, nothing further, thank you.
Okay, if you'd like to present your case at this time.
Yes, I would. I'm going to ask Ms. Culias to testify. State your name for the record.
Maria Culias.
Mrs. Culias, you heard testimony that you made certain statements in this case with regards to knowing about drugs in your house on the day that search warrant was executed in February of this year. Could you explain that, please?
I don't agree with the statement that the officer, the private investigator, Wallace, stated for me. None of that, it was said by me. I'm really, really upset right now because none of this statement, it was made by me.
Mrs. Culias, did you know of any drugs in the house at that time?
No.
Let's talk about Miquel Culias. Does he have a problem?
Yes.
What is his problem?
I guess he's using drugs, you know?
Did he ever use drugs in front of you in the household?
No, not at all.
And do you have any idea where he would do drugs?
Not in the house, not in the house. I never saw him.
Did he stay in the house at all times, or would he leave?
He leave, he come back. He wasn't driving, so he leave, come back with friends.
Were people picking him up?
Yes.
And as far as Mihaly, are you aware of him doing any drugs in the house?
No. Mihaly is disabled from 22 years old. He has a broken femur, and he's not only the broken femur, but his body goes into a shock. That every single day that he gets up, we don't know how it's gonna be. He starts vomiting, he's throwing up, he's hospitalized 100 times. His bones is like from 2002, the accident is not healing properly. You know, he takes prescription medicine, and you know, he's staying in my master bedroom because he has his femurs has 20 inches rod in his leg, and he's sworn in position so that he can sit. So I gave him this room because he has his own bathroom, you know, to be easier for him. But he's disabled all these years, you know, he's no harm to nobody, and he does not use any drugs. He's very, very against, you know, heavy drugs and everything, you know, but he uses his prescription. His femur is not healing properly. It's still not full recovered, my son.
Mrs. Culias, let me ask you about multiple pill bottles, majority of them empty. Tell us about those in the house.
Mihaly, when he goes every month, his prescriptions are, you know, finish them, he hides them. He doesn't throw them out. He keeps them. He keeps them.
Hides what?
The empty bottles. He keeps them. He just keeps them.
Do you know why?
No, I don't know why. I never questioned him, you know, but he just keeps them. And they all empty, you know, years ago.
How many times a day would he come out of his room?
Several times, because he's gonna, you know, when he gets up in the morning, he's gonna get up, you know, then, you know, he's gonna take care of the dogs, do some yard work, you know, then take his shower, then he's gonna go lay down. He can't be on his leg more than 2 hours a day, straight. Every 2 hours he has to lay down because the bone is bothering him a lot, the rod is bothering him a lot. And his whole body also developed after the accident and from the stress, especially after the search warrant. They came into the house and he heard that what they charged him. The poor kid went crazy, crying and saying, I don't do this. Why they did it? They set me up. And his whole body is covered with psoriasis, a weird disease that's covered the whole body from top to the bottom except his face. His face is the only place that's clear. Everything else is covered up. I have pictures that if you see it, you're gonna, you know, you can't believe it how he's, you know, he's able to deal with it. And everything is from the stress.
you know?
Let me ask you, in Exhibit 1, there's a picture of a needle that is, or what appears to be a needle that is at the sink. Do you know anything about this? Whose bathroom is that, first of all?
This is the bathroom that we use all in the house. That day, after my son left and asked me for a long sleeve, a top to give him, because he was meeting up with some officers to talk to him about something that happened in the neighborhood, years ago. Matter of fact, I went into the bathroom after he left because I was getting ready. I was waiting for people to come to serve me from my washer. And I said, let me go into the bathroom, change my robe. This wasn't there. That wasn't there. And I was waiting for people to come, to fix my washer. And right when I changed my robe, I hear the door knocking, and I go up and, believing was the people for the washer. And instead, it was two tall police officers telling me that I called 911 out of my phone, and they was worried if I'm okay. I said, yeah, I'm okay, and I'm waiting for service for my washer. And he goes, well, is anybody with you right now? I said, my other son. And my other son is just meeting up with you guys. He just left 5 minutes ago, so he's meeting up with you. And I have the oldest one, they're sleeping right now. They told me to wake him up and tell him to step aside. I said, please, I can't do that, because if I push him to wake up, he's going to start vomiting. He's sick. He has to wake up on his own. But they persisted, so I had to wake him up and take him. As soon as he was up, they told us to step outside the house. And at that point, they told me, we have a search warrant and we're coming for your house. And I was already outside the house. And then after they took over, and that was it.
I have nothing further of this witness.
You have anything else to state?
I have another witness.
Questions of the
Okay,
board?
do you have
and
any
then
questions? Any of the board have any questions for Officer Gass? You?
Yes, I have questions. The first picture in exhibit number 1, one right on top, it should be looks like an end table or something. Are you familiar with that?
That wasn't either that.
Are you familiar with that table?
I'm familiar with a table, but that wasn't
It's
on
a yes
it.
or no question, ma'am. Are you familiar with
No.
that table? You've never seen that table before?
Table, yes, but not with this on it.
Where's that table at in your house?
It's in the corner of my living room.
How far from the front door is it?
Excuse me?
How far from the front door is it?
Not even if you're in the door, you can see it.
Okay.
So it's not far.
So
It's really
when you were asked to leave the house, any possibility going anywhere near that table?
no.
No.
I didn't even have a chance. I was barefooted, and they didn't even let me put shoes on.
Are you able to see this table in your house any given point in time? When you're in your house and you're in your living room near your front door, can you see this table?
And if I look at it,
Okay.
yes. But if I'm busy for something else and I'm not worried about the table, no.
Okay. Do you have any idea what those things are on that table?
Be honest, I can't really tell. Well, now I put my glasses on, I can see, is that like a pencil?
Mm-hmm. What
I
about the
see.
square thing in the middle of the table? You have any idea what that is?
No, I don't know. I don't know how to. What?
Is that the black square?
The black square
The
that
best
is
way
a scale.
is scale.
It's a scale.
If you say so, yeah.
The
it's a
little
scale.
plastic baggies that are on that table, you never seen those before?
I see one baggie.
Okay. How about the spoons?
Where is the spoon?
There's a small spoon on the right side of the table.
I see it, but it wasn't there.
All right. Picture number 2. It's kind of a wicker basket. Have you ever seen that basket before?
That's not a basket.
Oh, what is it?
That's a table.
Okay. So, all right. So you obviously have seen it because you know what it is.
Yeah, it is a table.
Okay. Where's that in your house?
As you can tell, it's a table.
Where's that in your house?
Just recently we put that table over there.
Where?
It's in the living room.
The
over
same
there.
room with the other table or the back room?
No, it has to be in the same room. In the same room, yes, it is.
All right, so with at least a couple of pill bottles on there, a couple more of those small baggies, and some other items on there that would generally appear to be drug paraphernalia. You've never seen that before, or you have?
No, I did not see it.
You do
I
realize?
see it now.
Okay. These pictures were taken the day you were asked to come out of your house. SWAT team came in, detectives came in, took pictures of the house. Nobody else went into the house.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you went into the house too.
All right. And you said, I think it's the fourth picture, that's your bathroom that you use?
Yes.
You have any idea what those syringes are for?
I have no idea. And I get it. I swear this wasn't there because I was in the bathroom right before I entered my front door.
Okay. So nobody in your house injects drugs? Nobody has any prescription drugs for injectables? Is that a fair statement?
No prescription
Nobody?
drug for injectables.
So there shouldn't be any syringes in your house? Okay. So this would be odd to have syringes in your house.
Besides the, how do you say, the B12, the vitamin.
How's that normally injected? Do you know?
You use needles and you inject in that.
Okay. Who uses that?
Huh?
Who has the B12 prescription?
Sometimes Mickey uses it. It buys it from the doctor was giving it to him as prescription.
Okay. So who else uses that bathroom?
I use it,
Right.
and Mickey uses it, and that's it.
What about Mihaly?
Mihaly has his own bathroom. I gave him the bigger.
Does that bathroom function okay? Shower work good? Toilet work good? All that stuff in that other bathroom?
In Mihaly's,
Yeah.
Mihaly's very old, but it still does run it properly. You can still take a shower. You can, but it's from the time the house was built, from 1970.
Okay.
It's the original.
You don't have a lot of visitors to your house, do you?
No, nobody.
And so you've never made a statement to Detective Wagonary standing in front of the house
Yes.
that Mihaly does stay in the back southwest bedroom and smokes marijuana all day. You never
No,
said that.
I never said that, and I can't wait to talk to him in person, to Officer Wallace.
But
I'm really
does
surprised,
anybody-
man.
Do you have any, is there anything that says he wasn't charged with possessing 90 grams of marijuana? Is there any document that you have that shows he wasn't charged with that?
Whatever they charged him the night,
Okay.
the poor boy
So he
went
was charged
crazy.
with it. Okay.
Everything was dropped after.
Okay.
Everything was dropped
I don't have anything further.
on Mihaly.
Because of the witnesses, he should.
You see, sir, said you have other witnesses?
Yes, I
Go
do.
ahead. She been sworn in?
Thank you.
No, she's not been sworn in.
Okay. Now, will you raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give us the whole truth, nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Hi,
Please state your name for the record.
my name is Costandina Beltris. I'm the sister of Maria Cullas, and actually, your name is Officer Gasson or Gatson.
Gasson.
Okay. Can you repeat? It's a nuisance. So I just wanted to know it's a nuisance. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm a little distressed because
Madam Chairman, I'm wondering the relevance of her.
I'm bothered.
She's-
Hold on a second.
Excuse me?
You have Are you going to ask questions? You're going to call this witness?
Am I
Okay.
asking questions
No,
or am
I'll
I?
say, there's an attorney.
Okay, because I'd like to make a statement because I'm really bothered.
What is bothering you?
I'm bothered because we are here as a city and as a community, okay? And there's so much inconsistent information. And as an officer of the law, and some of the stuff is not clear. I was with my sister the majority of the day. And I know what she told Officer, what is his name? Waller?
Wagonary?
Well, yes. She did make it clear that Mihaly mainly stays in the back room. She had boxes of certain things like little statues. She talked to him about that. I remember clearly, like Murano and stuff like that that was destroyed. But anyway, we're not going to go there.
Let me ask you, had you gone into the residence prior to the search warrant being executed, and when would that have been?
I'm in and out of my sister's home, in and out. I'm not going to specify dates. I don't know. But yes, I'm in and out with my daughter. And to make it specific, since you've been in the home, sir,
If you open her front door, it's a 2-door. If you open it, it opens to the right. The living room is on the right-hand side. If you actually have tunnel vision, you won't look at the living room. You'll go straight into the kitchen, then you make a right and it's the dining room, then you make a left and it's the family room. And then in the right-hand side are the 2 bedrooms, and then it's Mihali's room, and then there's a little kitchen area. So any individual that might go visit my sister, like myself, might avoid the whole right side of the house and go straight into the kitchen and sit in the little dining room or in the back, as I have before. So I just want to make it clear, because you got a little fixated on the table, and I understand where you were going, but I also want to make it clear to you, for like me who walks in with my daughter, and I am very comfortable going to my sister's home, as I visited my nephew plenty of times, and I have visited both of my nephews and my sister. Now, what bothers me as a city is that you're trying to evict my nephews. So are we trying as a city to add to our homeless community? Or where are these boys supposed to go?
Let me ask you this, Ms. Biltris. With regards to the date of the search warrant, I believe it's February 20th of this year, how, prior to that date, when would you have gone in? Would it have been a week earlier, a couple days earlier?
Probably a week or so, because my sister and I have been taking care of my mother. My mother was in the hospital from February the 7th until March 7th. So Maria was gone from the house a lot, okay, from her home. And the boys were there a lot by themselves. And sometimes I would go and be like, oh, okay, she's at the hospital. We're just all helping each other out as a family. And as they are grown adults, yes, they're living in her home, but sometimes you can't control your own children and you don't know. But yes, I've seen Miguel leave the home in a pickup truck a lot. So I'm not understanding where some of this is going.
When you last went into the home prior to the search warrant, did you observe any drug or any paraphernalia?
No, I actually was in the dining room table, and I was at the computer actually, and I was facing, like, the dining room table is elongated, and then the living room, and I was sitting at the computer. So, and I could see that way. I did not notice it at that time.
I don't have anything further.
And if I make you a comment about needles, needles are not just for drugs. Needles are for a different variety of things, including diabetics and other types of diseases. And as for Baker acting is a very severe mental health issue, which is a terrible nuisance to neighbors. So I am very concerned, as being a special needs teacher, that there's not a lot of knowledge about mental health issues going on around here, especially with police force.
Thank you.
Questions from the board?
Any questions from the board?
How old are these boys?
They're 37.
Let's start with Mihaly and then Miguel.
Mihaly, it was born August 15th. Mihaly was born February 15th, 1979, and Miguel was born April 21st or 22nd, 1981 or 82, to be exact. And yes, we refer to them as boys because I'm in my 40s and they are my nephews.
Any other questions from the board?
No questions. I don't. Unless
The
Mr.
board, I'm
Nelson-
asking the board right now, ma'am.
I don't have any questions.
I had another question. Why does it matter where the drugs were if the house has all those drugs in it?
Are you asking me a question? I don't know if this is the appropriate time for me to be answering that. I can address that in my closing statement if you would like.
Just you spent a lot of time pointing out where they were.
I mean, if the board will allow me to answer
But you
now
didn't
out of
question
order.
that they were there.
Yeah, if they allow me to answer out of order, I will.
Yeah, you're not testifying today, Jerry. So the question should be asked of the witnesses, and then Mr. Theophilopoulos will give his closing argument as to the reasons why he was trying to pull all of his evidence together. He'll tell you what he was doing and what he's attempting to prove, and that will be in his summary. Okay.
I have a question. I heard you say when you were speaking that Maria was in the hospital from February.
My mother was in the hospital, and Maria would leave her house a lot because my mother doesn't speak English. Okay, so during a lot of the time, and my parents, they're at home. My dad is 88 years old, and my mom is 84. So my mom was hospitalized on February 7th for pneumonia, congested heart failure, and AFib. So during the day when my daughter was at school, I would take care of my mom at the hospital. Maria would leave in the evenings and afternoons to go visit my mother. And also, I'm not sure if you know that Maria's husband passed away recently due to cancer. So he was in and out of the hospital, and Maria was caring for him. So she was gone from the home quite a bit.
Okay, thank you.
Officer Gaston, would you like to summarize?
Yes.
We're going to closings now. If I could, I would ask to introduce Exhibit A, which is the charging document for Mihaly Mugros.
Has he?
I've got a copy for Officer Gaston. Okay. Thank you.
One for me and one for the board?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Courtesy copy.
I have no objection. Thank you.
Receive it in.
Yes, Bobby, would you please receive those in evidence?
Basically, Madam Chairman, we executed a search warrant on the house. That search warrant was based on whatever information was given to a judge that felt it was reasonable and that there was probable cause to search that house for drugs and illegal narcotics. And in fact, that search warrant was executed. I was inside the house. I've been a police officer for 24 years, and frankly, I've never seen more evidence inside of one residence of drug use of some way, shape, or form. Numerous bottles, spoons. Yes, spoons can be used for other things. Syringes can be used for other things. But the fact that these weren't noticed and they're out in the open, and then the mere fact that the drugs were found inside the house. Even the charging document that Jerry provides is for Mihaly. It's for the third-degree felony possession of marijuana. So there was, in fact, a felony crime and a charging document out of it. No, none of them have been convicted of these crimes. We're here, yes, as a nuisance violation. As an interesting side note, I pulled up the address in our record system, which we converted a while back, and this isn't everything. It could be, they were witness to a crime, a victim to a crime, but the police department's been out there in excess of 20 times in 15 years. I mean, for various things. In some cases,
I'm going to object that none of that is in evidence and it wasn't testified to, and I'd move to strike.
So, Madam Chair, what the lawyer is basically saying is that he shouldn't be able to put into his summary things that he did not testify to as when he was presenting his testimony earlier. So you either need to sustain the objection or overrule it. My advice to you is to sustain the objection. That was not testimony that Officer Gasson gave before he got into his closing argument. So are you going to sustain that?
I will sustain it.
Yeah, okay.
fine. So basically, like I said, I was inside of the house. The SWAT team was inside of the house. Pinellas County Narcotics conducted a search warrant on this house. A judge agreed there was probable cause to believe there were drugs inside that house. Drugs were, in fact, found inside that house. There were statements made by Ms. Coulias regarding, as I testified, that he smokes marijuana all day. She's in constant fear of her boys. So the thing about it is she stated that the syringes appeared at some point in time. I don't know when, but they were in the house when it was searched. I didn't see that particular bathroom. Those pictures were provided to me by the detectives. Basically the house is a nuisance, and the fact that the two boys inside of the house are primarily the reason why that nuisance occurs. I just asked the board simply to find them in violation of City Ordinance 8-40 and establish them. As I stated at this point in time, I don't know who is in the house. I believe Mikai is still incarcerated, and I'm not sure of Mihaly's whereabouts. And that's all I have at this point.
Okay. Sir, would you like to summarize?
Yes, thank you. when we look at what we're charged under, it's the duty of maintenance of private property, 840 of our code, and it refers to 838 and is further defined in 841, which tells you what nuisance means. And as Officer Gasson testified earlier, and I asked him, the subsection 4 of 841 under the nuisance conditions is the subsection that he proceeded on. The problem with the argument here today and the evidence presented is you must have, and these are the words of our code here in Tarpon Springs, the repeated attraction to the premises where the use or condition complained of is maintained by persons who, through frequent raucous, or disorderly conduct, or through repeated disturbances of peace, or through violation of any law of the state, county, or city, adversely affect ordinary, reasonable, and reasonably behaved persons in the enjoyment and use of their property. If you consider everything that Officer Gasson has stated here as true, and you find that that is the facts of this case, then you have one incident. You do not have a repeated attraction. To repeat, as our own code here in the city says, you have to have more than one event. And what do I mean by that? If, for instance, you have 2 incidences that have occurred drug-related in that household, you have a repeated attraction. So we're missing one instance here. Do we have what's alleged here? Were there drugs in the house? Well, obviously, it's quite apparent there were drugs in the house. But it doesn't rise to nuisance until, as the code states, the repeated attraction, you have to have more than one event. So at best, he's presented one event here today, and therefore you must find in favor of Mrs. Cuyas and her property. Thank you.
Okay, so the public portion of this case is now closed, and board, I will entertain a motion.
I move that based on the testimony, evidence, facts presented, and the law, that at the time of the alleged violation, sections 8-40 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Tarpon Spring was in full force and effect, and at the time of the violation, at the time of the notice of the violation, the respondents were in violation of said codes. However, they are now in compliance.
Second.
They are now in compliance.
Mr. Kramer did. Sure.
They didn't hear you. Okay, any discussion? Question?
Would you clarify your motion?
They were
please?
now in compliance.
This is
Have to say they weren't in compliance first.
Go ahead.
What's the question?
He said they were now in compliance.
Right, you said that they were in violation of section 8-40 at the time of the notice, but they are now in compliance.
I didn't see evidence that they were now in compliance.
There was testimony from Officer Gasson that they're in compliance. No, hold on a second. We're done there. Okay. So.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Norfleet,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Abstain.
You have to vote one way or the other unless you show a conflict?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Vote.
I got confused on the motion.
this is just established.
It's to establish the violation. It is now in compliance.
Yes.
That was a yes by Ms. Wade. Mrs. Dabbs.
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mrs. Archer.
Yes.
Your motion carries 6-1.
Thank you. Okay, I don't need to explain it, do I?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, the only thing I wanted to add here at the conclusion is that this is Mrs. Culias's homesteaded property. I just wanted that to be clear. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
See you soon.
What happened to 2, 3?
We haven't done this one.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, we have David.
See, we'll find out what he wants to do next.
126 East Boyer, we'll get that one done, and then
Okay.
Okay. 3.
Okay.
3, okay. Okay, case number 18-800000029, 126 East Boyer Street, Sierra Wholesale LLC.
Okay, there's not an email attached.
Yes. Take that.
Yeah, here it is. I don't know what it says. Come on. No, I just wanted you to have it available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stating that there's an email attached. And
good.
No, there's no one here in the
One
audience?
here for this one,
Okay.
okay. Okay. All right.
and I'll discuss that too.
Okay.
Officer Steve Gasson, City of Tarpon Springs Police Department Code Enforcement. Case number 18-800000029. Property address 126 East Boyer Street. Property is owned by a company in LLC, Sierra Wholesale. Exhibit number 1 are all of my photographs, to include my inspection photographs. Exhibit number 2 is all the notices, to include the notice of violation and notice of hearing. Exhibit number 3 are my administrative docs, the case summary, property appraiser, and tax collector records, and any emails. And exhibit number 4 is the affidavit of posting and a copy of the sign. All of my notices were mailed to the property owner of record based on the Pinellas County Property Appraiser and Tax Collector databases. All my notice of violation and notice of hearings were sent via certified mail return receipt, as well as first-class mail. And, Madam Chairman, if you would please accept those exhibits into the record as evidence. Initially conducted my first inspection on January 17th of this year. Upon inspection, I found debris and trash being stored on the property, including old tires, pallets, trailer full of trash, trash bags, and various other debris and trash items. Trees along the sidewalk on the north side needed to be trimmed so they were not encroaching on the sidewalk. On January 17th, the courtesy letter was mailed first class to the property owner. On February 6th of this year, conducted a reinspection. Basically, a lot of the debris and trash had been cleaned up, but the trailer is still full, and it's still on the property in violation. At that point in time, the notice of violation was sent on February 8th. On March 6th, I returned for another inspection, and the debris had been cleaned up, and basically the only violation at the time is that the trailer is still full and on the property. On March 6th, the final notice of violation was mailed. On March 21st, I conducted another reinspection, and as I stated, the trailer is still loaded on the property, but now I went around to the backside via the alley, and there's a stack of tires in the rear on the east side, and at that point, I decided to send a notice of hearing and bring it to Code Board. March 22nd, the notice of hearing was mailed first class and return receipt requested. March 31st, I posted the property and signed the affidavit. On April 11th, I did conduct a final inspection. The trailer seems to be the only issue still on the property. We did get back a notice of violation return card signed from the owner. The final notice of violation, we added sending it to the tenant, and we did get that back signed. And then the notice of hearing to the registered agent was returned attempted but not known. At this time before the board, I have the 43.00. 8-52 I'm going to put into compliance because it's basically the trailer. So 43.00 says you can't store a utility, recreational vehicle or utility trailer and use it for storage on the property. You can have a trailer, but it has to be empty. So their violation is that it's still full. Now, going along with, I did finally get an email, and I want to say I think it was last night, possibly the day before, from some representatives of the company, and due to some hardships, they were asking for extensions and things like that, and I can get into them more significantly if you want after the board decides whether there's a violation or not. But at this point, that's all I have.
Board have any questions for Officer Gasson? Ready for Okay, we're ready to entertain a motion. None of the photos get through.
That's fine. It's pretty much the trailer. I know there's a lot of extra photos in there, but
Ready for a motion?
I move based on testimony, evidence, and facts presented in law that at the time of the alleged violation, sections 8-52 and 43.00 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Tarpon Springs was in force and effect. The respondents were in violation thereof.
Second.
Any discussion?
The violation 8-52 has been testified to as being in compliance. And so Officer Gasson is moving forward only on one code section, and that's 43.00. And so I just wanted to make sure that, that we had addressed the motion correctly because of the fact that he has testified that it is in compliance with 8-52.
I thought he said he then went back and there was additional debris.
It says 8-52 is in compliance.
You want to give another one? The 8-52 is in compliance, so all we need is 43.
Okay, then I'll
Okay, go ahead.
revise the motion.
You don't need to read it again. You just want your motion to include 43.00, but not 8-52. Is that correct?
Please revise
All
the
right.
motion to only include 43.00.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Norfleet,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Yes.
Mrs. Dabbs. Yes. Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mrs. Archer.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Gasson, or Officer Gasson, recommendations?
the property owner sent a couple of emails, and initially she asked for 8 weeks, but we were going to code board the next day, so I thought I'd just simply present it to the board. She goes on with a myriad of issues going on. Potential foreclosure, they're trying to evict, working on a divorce, and she has medical problems. I think that summarizes it. She's asked for 8 weeks. The property, we haven't had any issues with it before, so I certainly have no problem with a full trailer, giving them 60 days to move the trailer out and $25 a day to take care of that. Even barring all the circumstances, I think that's reasonable anyway. And she did ask for the 8 weeks. They're trying to evict them. They said it's 4 to 6 weeks for the eviction, so that gives them a couple weeks after that to clean the property up. So that's the city's position is 60 days or 8 weeks and $25 a day.
Okay. Have a motion on that?
Move the respondent shall have until June the 11th to bring the property into compliance with Code Section 43.00, or suffer a fine of $25 a day for each day thereafter the respondent remains in violation of said code section.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Norfleet,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Yes.
Mrs. Dabbs,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mrs. Archer.
Yes. Okay, now we're on to 9. Officer Gasson, we're doing 9?
Number 9, 439 East Lemon Street, case 772.
The repeat violator?
Madam,
Yes.
this could take a little bit. Is there any possibility we maybe
Yes.
take a quick break?
Will we take 10 minutes?
Take a 5-minute break?
Take a 5-minute break?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the new stuff now.
Yeah.
It's only to establish.
Legs hurting you?
Whoever doesn't give an opportunity to look. Very, that's not, that's not.
Yeah.
Well, other people, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Want to get something so you can prop it up after?
Well, yeah. I didn't get.
Yeah.
Well,
It's just to establish.
I
That's what
know,
it was
I know.
about, yeah. So in case there's another, yeah,
Here,
yeah. One kid's in jail and the other kid, I don't know about. It's not-
well, yeah, but honestly, under motion.
My
It's not.
grandson died a few overdose. I know it. Heroin addict, 30. Took enough fentanyl. Died. Fell asleep on the boat. I know why. That's why they use it. But then it, so they don't do it. So he thought he was buying heroin.
We didn't know.
Bought it in
How are
St.
you?
Peter's.
We didn't know.
Poor thing, her leg.
Great musician, great kid, handsome, sharp, way to live life. On the way to
What
new
my-
life away from drugs.
Everybody's got something.
Yeah, his last time. What he was gonna do.
Oh.
He's in a bus station, North Florida. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was on the way to Spring.
What is?
Yeah, he talented young man. Been a drug addict since 11 or 12 years old. Awful thing to see. He was in my home the last 4 days of his life. I put him on the bus. Beautiful, beautiful human being. His mother really took it out. Really. She lives in
30-year-old
California. He knew all about it, but still.
We're still here. We're up.
He had
Just
class.
sit there and relax and I'll get
First day.
Yeah.
it in money.
Yeah.
Probably.
This will be for the
Really.
All right.
There's water down here too.
Let me know
It's not
what
mine.
to do, okay? Just rest. Go rest. And then I'll pick it up with you later.
hold your breath. Pick up your breath.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we're starting. Thank you. We need it. We're
Everybody
gonna
I
put
know.
you as witness to Plymouth Street when you clean up.
Don't permit free. You go downtown and ask them. Okay.
Tires. Okay.
You can get a permit.
Well, I don't.
Yeah, you did. I know you did. I know.
Waiting for Mrs. Dams.
Good luck.
Clean up
You're
your
gonna
place.
be okay?
And Bobby.
I got a motorhome in my backyard, with license
Got one
and
more
running, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta hang.
Well, got mine up for sale.
If you need it for anything, he'll, whatever you need, he'll tell you.
Huge garage, yeah.
What?
Just their common.
The hell? He could be a rough guy.
a nice find.
In the hospital. Walking with breakfast.
No, he's not walking on anything. He's there, right there now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, much younger one, yeah.
Hi, how are you today?
How much
Oh, I
notice?
think I got them. I don't even know all of them. They're up in New York State.
How much notice am I supposed to give?
The,
30 days or 60 days?
No, November you said? Just sometime in September, remind me, like at the last meeting, and I will note it. I think I have to actually tell, physically tell. Or just emails, or, just keep us in the loop, I guess. So you know, I didn't just bail.
Makes it move around a bit,
That
huh?
way we should,
Yeah.
everyone should.
Got a quorum.
Okay, call the session back into order. Next case is a repeat violator in violation from 12/12/2017 to 3/5/2018, that's 73 days. Case number 17-800000772 at 439 East Lemon Street. The Annexi Group. I see where Attorney, you're
Daniel
asking
Rock.
for a continuance. Do you want to speak?
Yes, ma'am. Initially, I had requested a continuance.
We're gonna
Talk in
need
the
the
mic,
microphone.
Please.
Sorry.
Thank
Is
you.
it working? Can you hear me now?
Hear you now.
All right. This case was before the board back in February, and it was continued because we requested that Officer Gasson's records be made available for public inspection. None of those records were produced, and a lawsuit has been filed. A hearing has been scheduled for, I think, the 25th of this month concerning what the city has to produce, which will in large part involve some of the defenses. One of the defenses that we have is the defense of specific enforcement, which the Second District Court of Appeal in Sarasota versus Powell versus City of Sarasota. I'm sure Mr. Trask is probably familiar with it. I also have a copy of it. I can provide it to this board if it likes to see it. So I've asked for a 1-month continuance based upon that. I have since learned this afternoon that one of the witnesses who will testify, Mr. Chris Conrad, who cleaned up the property back in December, had something fall on him. He is in the hospital and he cannot testify today, but I would assume he will be able to testify either at the May meeting or at the June meeting. I want you to understand that this request is not made for the purposes of delay, but there is a real bona fide contention that we are entitled to information to defend this claim, and that the unexpected non-availability of a witness. I requested a continuance from Officer Gasson, who I believe had the authority to say yes or no, or go ahead and ask the board. Well, he indicated that his answer was no, but I could make the same request before the board. And that's what I am doing to these two cases. I'm requesting another continuance, preferably to June, but if you want to put it on the main calendar, it's just as inconvenient for me to be here at 4 o'clock in May as it is 4 o'clock in April. I still don't have the information. The information that I'm asking, and you should probably be aware of this, I requested from the city attorney to take Officer Gasson's deposition for a 2-hour session. They indicated they politely declined, saying there's no authority for deposition under the statute. Therefore, I had to make the public records request. So I have been forced into this situation, step 1, step 2, step 3, and now all of a sudden, when I am as prepared as I can be with the limited information that I have, I find out that one of my witnesses who will testify as to when he cleaned up the property, because that's really going to be in big dispute, is also hospitalized. So my suggestion is, go ahead and continue it to the June calendar. by the document on the agenda itself, there's no irreparable harm. The properties have been cleaned up. The compliance has taken place. One says 30 days or 34 days. One I think says 79 days or 73 days. So there's no reason why it can't continue. I have non-availability of witnesses, and I have pending discovery and a pending lawsuit that has issues directly related to this case. Thank you.
Madam Chair, we need to see any response from the city before you make your ruling. And just so the board understands that the chairman is the person that is going to be making the ruling as to whether the continuance is going to be granted. And I'd also tell the board that Officer Gasson does not have the ability to overrule an order of this board. This board continued the hearing to today, and therefore he doesn't have the right, the legal ability to grant a continuance. It had to come to you for a decision today, Madam Chair. He did not have the ability to continue it as he would have had prior to now, because there has now been a board order entered saying there will be a hearing today. So with that, I would ask if Mr. Gasson has any testimony, and then you need to decide whether or not that you want to grant these continuances. And it's on both cases you're asking for the continuance. He only mentioned the one, but it's both cases. Okay.
Hey, Officer Gasson.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. As Mr. Trask stated, we were here a couple months ago, and we specifically gave the continuance, this board gave the continuance that Mr. Rock and Ms. Annexi asked for. The city was prepared at that point in time to go forward with this case. We're still prepared at this point in time. It's also my understanding, as far as the lawsuit goes, I guess there's been a couple of continuances filed by Mr. Rock in that lawsuit also in circuit court. So I don't know what the issue is with getting this case forward. It does seem incredibly convenient that a person that was cleaning the yard up as a star witness is unavailable to be here today when it's on the heels of requesting a continuance previously. As I stated, the city's ready to go forward, and that basically is all I have at this point in time. I would object to any further continuances of this case, and let's just move on.
May I respond, please?
Yeah, you can ask any questions you want. Yeah.
Forget your name, sir.
Mr. Rock.
Daniel Rock.
I guess he had asked for some information from the city or from you. Is there any reason why that couldn't have been given?
What was asked for was what I've been told the largest public records request that the city's ever been asked for. Ultimately, the city was asked for the largest public records request that's ever been asked for, up to and including about 250,000 emails. Those emails have to be, every single email has to be gone through, because I am a police officer, and some of the people that were subpoenaed, they go through the police department. I'm privy to confidential information, which is not allowed to be released under the Sunshine Law or public records laws. So every single email in that group has to be redacted in some way, shape, or form, at best reviewed. That takes a significant period of time. Along those lines, they were provided with a quote of an estimate of what it would cost to do this and a time frame. They chose not to pay that quote and instead chose to file a lawsuit to circumvent whatever. I don't know all the details behind it. That's attorney stuff. I do simply know that there was an amount of money that they were asked to pay as a down payment, as an estimate of what the public records request would be. And then we would need time to do that. Mr. Rock states he just wants to review the records. That's physically impossible when all of our emails are contained on a computer server. We still have to look at each one before we allow them to be reviewed. So there's a period of time that would take. So the lawsuit, we like I said, we presented him with a cost. It was substantial, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, because the amount of time and personnel that it would take, which we're legally allowed to ask for under Florida statute, to make sure the information we're giving him is legally allowed to be given out. They didn't like that answer and filed a lawsuit. And whatever the case may be, we're still going through that lawsuit. I believe it, well, I won't get into the reasonings behind it, but that was the public records request that was made. That's the lawsuit he's referring to. And he also makes a comment about a deposition. I don't know all the legal ins and outs, but from my understanding, in this type of circumstance, code enforcement boards, me as the depositions aren't allowed. That's what I've been informed, and that's part of that lawsuit as well. So
should be able to respond.
Want to respond?
Thank you. Number one, the Annexi Group has done absolutely nothing to delay the circuit court case. That is a misstatement of fact. Number two, the public records request came back from the city attorney requesting $80,000 just to look at the records. I responded by an email. I didn't ask you for copies. I just wanted to look at the records. I went to the code office at the time that I listed in my request, and I can provide a copy. I'm sorry, I have to get a copy made because I must have left them at the office. I requested it. Time lapsed. I appeared at this code enforcement board to look at the records. No records. The following day, probably the 6th day, since they have a 5-day requirement, I notified them. I'm going to set up the time to do that. I showed up. No records. The following day, I get a bill for approximately $80,000 just to take a look at the records, the public records that I requested. Then I filed a lawsuit. For Mr. Officer Gasson to say that I have continued that case is a bold misstatement of fact. I have done nothing. In fact, the earliest I could get before the court on a motion for summary judgment, from my point of view, is April 25th. And I would have to probably see the information that the court's probably going to be required to disclose. I would also point out to this board that the statute 119 provides for a system where if they don't want to produce a document, they claim it as exempt and list it. They've done nothing at all. They're just, in my opinion, trying to intimidate the request that's been made for the records. I am trying to go forward, get the records, prepare for a defense. The City of Sarasota, Powell versus City of Sarasota, clearly states that when you have a claim of specific enforcement, you are entitled to present that information to the board in full. I did not know one of my witnesses was going to be hospitalized at the time I made the request to Officer Gasson, but I understand that the city is ready to proceed. They were ready back in February, but we are given half an apple to digest and say, how did the whole apple taste? It's not possible to tell you how the whole apple tastes. I don't have all the information. And in addition, one of the witnesses hospitalized. So certainly I can, if you come back, if you ask me to come back in May and give you an update of what happened at the hearing in April, I'll be glad to. But I'm thinking that if you reset the hearing for June, we'll probably have a lot more information to discuss with this board or present this board.
Okay, so your options, Madam Chair, is to grant the continuance or not to grant the continuance. If you do grant the continuance, my suggestion is that you pick a date that it's continued to, so that when everyone leaves here today, you know when the next hearing is going to be, if you're going to do that.
Any other help?
I will tell you, as for other help, there's no prejudice to the city. If this property was not in compliance, I would say there is prejudice to the city because the violation continues to exist. There is no prejudice to the city because the property is in compliance right now. And you can determine the same 73 days and the same 34 days when it comes back in May or June or whenever you hear it again. You're going to hear the same presentation by the city that it's the same number of days, I imagine. So there's no prejudice to the city other than they want to get the case done. So,
Well, I think under the circumstances with, you've had a 2-month extension. It has to do with cleaning up homes, right, and property. That this should be taken care of, and I'd like to go ahead and continue it today.
so does that mean you want the city to present its case, or do you want to have that continue to the next?
I wanted us to go ahead with today.
Okay, so then you're denying the motion for continuance.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So then we would proceed with the first case then.
Mr. Trask,
Yes.
I have a motion that I would like to make before the,
Okay.
my motion is respectfully to move to disqualify the board as not being properly qualified under the statute. The statute requires applicants to consist of certain, I'm referring to 162.05, which states that members of the boards shall, and the statute says, wherever possible, shall consist of professionals in numerous occupations. I have a copy of the present board's applications, and of which possibly only one qualifies as being appointable under the law. And that, Madam Clerk? And these applications are self-explanatory, which would indicate that this board does not consist of a statutorily mandated board. There are, in all due respect, teachers, grant applicants, or coordinators, or all things that are not required or not even mentioned in the statute, nor has there been any indication of why you can't comply. I also have applications that I would like to present to the clerk of previous board applicants, many of whom consist of eligible board members that have been either excluded or just simply overlooked. So I'm questioning the jurisdiction of this panel to sit as a duly licensed statutory board. And I would suggest that possibly if they wanted to reconsider the request for a continuance for a month, it might give you a better opportunity to review the statute and the applications, and then either decide to, either that my motion has some merit or to go forward at that time.
So, Madam Chair, let me know, first of all, does the city have a response to that?
Yeah, 16205 subsection 2, without reading the whole thing, as Mr. Rock stated, it says whenever possible. I think that, and apparently there's a case where it's not possible to have the requirements, including an architect, a business person, which is very broad. If anybody's employed, I probably would think they're a business person, an engineer, a general contractor, a subcontractor, and a realtor. There's no provisions in the statute that says that if you can't get this together, this is what you have to do, or you have to document why you couldn't get this together. It does say whenever possible. So I don't understand how the board got put together. I wasn't part of that, but the statute seems fairly clear whenever possible, which leaves for, if you can't do this, you should try, but you don't have to.
Okay,
So that's my response.
Does the city have any response to the whenever possible? Any evidence to suggest that the whenever possible did come about?
Hold on a second.
Sorry.
We're not going to be asking questions back and forth, guys.
I understand.
You're
I was
making
addressing
a
the board.
motion, he's responding to your motion, we're not going to take evidence on it. So, Madam Chair, let me just give you the bottom line here. Mr. Rock has made another motion, of which you are the one that needs to make the determination as to whether or not this board is disqualified from hearing this code enforcement case, and frankly, any other code enforcement case, as a direct result of one sentence in section 16205, and I'll just read it out loud again. Mr. Rock has read it, and now Mr. Gasson has read it. The membership of each enforcement board shall, comma, whenever possible, comma, include an architect, a business person, an engineer, a general contractor, a subcontractor, and a realtor. So that is what guides the selection of the members of the Code Enforcement Board. Obviously, you don't select the members of the Code Enforcement Board. The City Commission does that. They've obviously made a determination that you meet the qualifications to be a member of this Code Enforcement Board. And so, Madam Chair, I would suggest to you that the appropriate way to handle this motion would be to deny the motion. And Mr. Rock, did you want to proffer these into evidence, or how did you? Okay.
That's why I gave them to the clerk.
Okay, so any objection for these coming into evidence? Mr. Gasson?
I have no objection, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so my suggestion, Madam Chair, is that the city clerk receive these 3 packets of information as being proffered into evidence and received into evidence. So Bobby, if you could mark those in, received into evidence in this case. And so, Madam Chair, you need to make the determination, are you going to grant this motion or you're going to deny it?
I have a question. I don't know.
Okay.
If we're not qualified enough to be sitting up here right now, why are we going to be qualified another month from now?
Okay.
You're up.
That's a rhetorical question, obviously, and Mr. Rock can't answer that, I'm sure, but you need to make the decision based upon what you've heard from both of them.
Whether to what? Still go on, or?
Yeah, his motion is to disqualify this entire board to hear the case. And if you agree with him and you grant the motion.
Disqualify, I've got to answer that question?
Yeah.
You
can't? This whole board, he wants to disqualify this whole board because it doesn't meet what his argument is that the requirements required by state statute, the makeup of this board.
Well, absolutely not.
Okay.
We were picked by the commission, and we're here, so.
Okay, so, Mr. Rock, that motion is denied. Any other motions that you wanted to make?
I would also make another motion to continue on the basis that we still do not have the records that we have requested in order to be able to prove or disprove the allegation of specific enforcement, which has been raised and can only be partially presented to the board at this time.
I've heard that term a couple of times. Are you meaning selective enforcement?
I'm sorry.
You've used specific enforcement.
I have in error used the term specific performance, but the proper use of the term is selective enforcement.
Okay, I was lost. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Apologize.
So, Madam Chair, you've already made another motion to continue. You've already ruled on the first one. I assume that you're going to rule the same on the second one. Deny his motion to continue and move on with the case, or grant the motion and then we'll set it for another month, whatever you want to do.
To go in between, how about, he wanted 2 months, right?
Yes, ma'am.
How about a month?
You get to make that decision. Only you.
I'm doing it, I'm not happy about it, but I'm trying to make it peaceful for everybody, but I'll continue, is that called?
Yes, ma'am.
A month.
Thank you.
Okay, so the order then is going to continue it until the next Code Enforcement Board meeting. Bobby, what is the date of the next Code Enforcement Board meeting?
Tell me the second Thursday of the new month. Could you tell me that date?
May 10th.
May 10th.
Okay, so then, Madam Chair, these 2 hearings are continued to May 10th then?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right.
We're done.
Thank you. So I guess we can move on then, Madam Chair, to affidavits of noncompliance.
That is. Okay, we're going on to the affidavits of noncompliance. Case number 17-800000629, Mainsail Drive, GGR Parkside LLP. there anyone here?
Anything you want to add other than to submit the affidavit of noncompliance, Officer Gasson?
No, I have nothing to add.
Okay, so Madam Chair, there are prosecution costs listed as $143.50. You should have that in your packet. So we would need a motion to, since there's no one here, to accept the affidavit of noncompliance with those prosecution costs if appropriate.
Someone make a motion?
I'll make a motion that I move based on testimony, evidence, and facts presented in law that the respondents failed to timely comply with this board's order within the time prescribed and award the city prosecution costs of $143.50.
Second.
Discussion? Who is this, a aye vote?
Yeah, you can do it by a voice vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Carried. Okay, case number 17-800000647 at 608 North Avenue, Robert Renwright, and
I move based on.
Hold on a second,
He
there's
is
somebody
present.
here.
Mr. Winwright's present.
Oh.
Okay, sir, why don't you step down here? Were
I
you
don't know if you're
sworn in
sworn.
earlier today? Okay. If you could state your name for us, please, and your relationship to the property.
Robert Winwright, I'm owner of the property.
Thank you, sir.
you can have a seat, sir.
Basically, on case 17-800000647, 608 North Avenue, violations regarding a structure, some debris and trash. I conducted a reinspection on the property. There was still, at the time, like a truck cover in the back, and the structure that was in question under the building code was still standing. There had been attempts, because Mr. Winwright was informed at Code Board to communicate with us if we needed time. We had nothing, and we've made multiple attempts to calling both of the numbers, both myself and my clerk, and we've been unable to leave a message. He stated that he had an architect was completing a drawing for the porch and the roof during an office visit on 327. As of today's date, there's still been no permit pulled with the city, and the structure still stood. And basically, that's all I have at this point in time regarding 608 North Avenue in this case.
Anybody have any questions for Officer Gaston?
I've tried to get in touch with Officer Gaston down there, and I've been down there, and I took rough draft of the architect, sketch down there. He's still working on the case for the insurance company to get this thing drawn up. I've dropped off a copy. I'm not aware. I wasn't even aware of the meeting today because the last time I talked to you, I have a disability. I lost brain tissue. So, I've been trying my best about ability to correspond with Officer Gaston. He's like a ghost.
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
We've been trying to get in touch with Officer Gaston. He's like a ghost. You can't get in touch with him. We've been trying to correspond with everything we could during the time. I have here a rough draft for an architecture for the plans that we have for that carport, and we actually been trying. So I'm basically it's not the time is not dealing with me. It's dealing with the architect, between the architect and the insurance company.
Questions from the board?
Board have any questions for Mr. Winwright? Officer Gaston, do you?
I have none.
Can I ask a question? Sir, how much time do you think that you're going to need to get the property into compliance?
Well, as soon as the architects get through with the rest of the blueprint, the insurance company is gonna, they're gonna do the roof work and tie everything in. So basically, we're just waiting on him to, this is the rough draft. He has 2 more drafts, including the, well, we have a, is it I guess he already have the property, measurements and stuff, so I'm just waiting on the architect to finish.
Who's the architect?
The architect is, Carvin Design.
Okay. And when was the last time that you talked to the architect?
Talked to him, this weekend. I gave him, he bought me the rough drafts. I dropped one off at the zoning place, and these are for you guys.
How much time did he tell you that he needed to get the plans completed?
He roughly told me, that he was working on it as quick as possible.
Does he know that you're going to be fined every single day because of the fact that this is not done yet?
I've told him that I was supposed to work with Officer Gaston, and that the board said to talk to him, but I can't talk to him. I can't get in touch with him.
Okay.
I'll be trying to do everything I can to be in confinement, but I'm on disability. My wife's on disability. I would have to come back to the city, I guess, to put a grant in to even pay the fine. I understand.
Madam Chairman,
Please.
the issue left, he's talking about roof issues, doing additions. It's this simple. He's got to clean up some debris out of the backyard and take the carport down, and he will be in compliance. All of this that he's presented is an additional shed, an additional bedroom, looks like landscaping, some other things. That's none of that. The roof's not an issue. The issue is take the carport down, clean up trash. That's all we're dealing with. Everything else is existential. I mean, it can happen at its own pace.
The carport is the roof. The carport is being attached to the house. That is the roof. And in the 27th, the trash people come on 27th to pick everything up. So pick everything else up.
Yeah, that's why we said at the previous code board, get an after the fact permit for just the carport. And once that permit was issued by the city, you would be in compliance. So your 2 choices were get an after the fact permit for the carport,
right,
or tear the carport down.
I went to your zoning office right after I left the last meeting. I talked to them, and I couldn't get it couldn't even give me an answer on after fact thing there for it to even get papers for that. So I just found out yesterday that I got to go back to them and ask them again for the papers for after fact thing to get the papers to get the zoning for that. So I'll try it again. I left at the meeting right after the meeting. I went there the last time. They didn't know what I was talking about.
Okay, so you've heard both sides of the case. The city is testifying that he's not in compliance. The respondent is saying he agrees he's not in compliance. He just doesn't know when he's going to ever get it into compliance because he's relying upon the architect. City says it doesn't really matter. He can take it down and he can be in compliance when he cleans up the property. So the appropriate thing to do is to consider accepting the affidavit of compliance. Then as soon as Mr. Winwright gets the property into compliance, he can come back and request, relief from the order, such as a fine reduction request. But, that would be a next step. So it's incumbent upon him to get it in compliance as quickly as possible to keep the fine as low as possible. So
we need
a motion to accept the affidavit of non-compliance and then consider whether or not you want to award the prosecution costs of $156.50.
Did everybody understand that? We need a
No.
motion.
I move based on testimony, evidence, and facts presented in the law, respondent failed to timely comply with the board's prior order within the time prescribed and award the city $156.50 for the cost incurred in prosecuting this case.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Norfleet,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson? Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Mrs. Dabbs?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mrs. Archer?
Yes,
Motion carries.
Want me to summarize?
please.
Sir, Mr. Winwright, so the board has found that you didn't get the property into compliance when you're supposed to, and that they assessed $156.50 for prosecution costs. The fine is running now, and so you need to get that property into compliance as quickly as possible. Once you do that, you contact Officer Gasson, he'll come out and inspect, and then you can ask the board for a fine reduction. You'll have 60 days from the entry of that order to ask for that fine reduction.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now I'm getting fined for $50 a day?
Sir, you're getting fined starting as of the date of the compliance. You were supposed to have brought it into compliance. The answer is yes.
Okay, so,
Okay, if you have the questions, I'll be happy to answer them after the meeting, or you can talk to Officer Gasson. We've got a lot of other cases that we need to finish today. But my suggestion is you get with Officer Gasson after the meeting, and he can explain to you any additional options that he's thinking about.
okay, well,
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, we're going on to affidavits of compliance. The first 9 don't have a cost occurred with them, so could we make a motion for the cases for the first 9?
Yes, and we're looking to Mr. Kramer for that, like we always do, right?
Why are you looking at me?
Because you do it so well.
Yeah. Want me to read each?
Just the case numbers.
Yeah, okay. I move we accept the affidavits of compliance in case number 15800000290, case number 15-8000626, case 16-8000008, case number 17-800000234, case number 17-800000390, case 17-800000486, case number 17-800000606, and case 17-800000576, and case number 18-8000050. That's it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
There's one discrepancy. Item 21 on our packet shows 5 zeros.
It doesn't matter. It could be 10. It's going to be the same thing. It's the
Okay.
it's the 50th case. So yeah, it's kind of weird how they have so many zeros. But
Tell me about it.
yeah. But as long as we get the 50 on the end, we're good. Okay.
So case number, we have 17-800000552 at 517 Ashland Drive, Irene Hoffman. Someone like to make a motion for
I
that?
move we, based on testimony, evidence, oh, wait a minute, that's not compliance. Damn it, too many motions here. I move we accept the affidavit of compliance and award the city $183 for the costs it incurred in prosecuting the case.
Second?
Second.
Do we need a,
Voice vote's fine.
okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carried. Okay, case number 17-800000662, 403 Riverside Drive, Bayshore Park, Inc.
I move we accept the affidavit of compliance and award the city $127.50 for the costs that occurred in prosecuting this case.
And accepting the affidavit of compliance.
I move to accept.
Yeah, you've awarded them the cost, but you didn't say in your motion that you wanted to accept the affidavit of compliance.
I thought I did. I move to accept the affidavit of compliance and award the city $127.50 for the costs that incurred in prosecuting the case.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carried. Case number 17-800000672 at 1098 South Pinellas Avenue, Juniper Development LLC.
I move to accept the affidavit of compliance and award the city $143.50 for the costs it incurred in prosecuting the case.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Case number 18-800000015 1881 River Ridge Drive, John and Virginia, Rome.
I move to accept the affidavit of compliance and to award the city $171 for the costs it incurred in prosecuting the case.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Old business. We have a fine reduction request. Case number 16-800000193 at 1907 Lexington Place, SunTrust Meeting, Inc.
Evidence, or we just make a motion?
I'm sorry? This is a petition for reduction of fine, and so your options would be to grant it, to deny it. If you grant it, the question is how much are you going to reduce it to if you grant it? And you have a motion in your packet that talks about timing as well, if you're interested in seeing that.
Interesting, in the letter requesting reduction, it is in the best interest of SunTrust to reduce these lien amounts. Yeah, I like that. I ought to use that for me.
Yeah. This is the originals that need to go on.
I move that we deny the request for fine reduction.
I second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Norfleet,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Yes.
Mrs. Dabbs,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mrs. Archer.
Yes.
So much for SunTrust.
And we have approval of minutes for January 11th, 2018, February, and March.
Did you want to talk about that notation?
Yes, going through the minutes, I noticed on all of them, on each month, it had vice mayor, not vice mayor.
Vice chair.
Vice chair, Becky Archer. But I did talk to Beth, and it's been corrected, correct? Okay. All right, I just wanted to make it,
So that was on all of them?
yeah.
Okey dokey.
So the motion would be to approve each one of these sets of minutes with the understanding that the reference to Vice Chair Archer will be changed to Chair Archer. That would be the motion.
I so move.
Okay?
Can we do them all at once?
Yeah, and there's a motion on the floor already. Mrs. Wade has got it. And has there been a second? Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Norfleet,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Yes.
Mrs. Archer,
Yes.
Mrs. Dabbs.
Yes.
Mr. Weeks, yes.
Mr. Weeks, I'm skipping to Mrs. Archer.
Getting late.
And Mrs. Archer, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I was writing your name. I was
Okay,
writing and saying.
Can't
Public
say one
comments?
while you write another
City
one.
have any public comment?
No.
No? You don't want to talk?
No comments.
How about the board?
What's the question?
Thanks for all your hard work.
I'm
Everybody.
glad to know that none of us are qualified for this. I think that's pretty important. That we now can
Are the
hang our heads in
microphones-
shame. We have
Is it
no idea
finished
what we're doing.
recording?
No, you're on, no.
Can't be a grant.
Gavel hath not fallen, so it
Yeah,
is
the
recorded.
meeting is still on. We don't talk unless the meeting is
Right.
on, so.
Okay. So seeing there's no other agenda, the meeting is adjourned at 4:35.
Good
Good
job,
job.
guys. Very good.
Next
Take vacation.
But I'm going to be in Washington State. We're meeting him in May, right?
Okay, here's your
I'm leaving in June.
I'll put that back, don't worry. I'll get it, I'll get it.
I didn't think I would feel a difference, but I did.
With the issues you've got, yes.
Thank you very much.
You need me to help you get out, or you think you can walk out?
Oh, I'll be okay, just a little slow.
Be coming out of Cancun.
Okay.
Straighten up.
Nice.
Just have her send an email or something verbally, that way we put in the records that she wants to
Officer
use
Cassie, did you have any
It'll be
more
fine.
for me other than that address? Oh, okay.
So this is one of my Courtney sons. Courtney had identical twin boys.
She did.
This is one of them. I don't know. I think this is Shay. I have to see him next week.
As much as they spend on lawyers, they could just hire somebody to do the work.
My grandson.
Huh?
I feel sort of sorry for the poor woman.
You can just send it to me, be cold. I'll make sure she gets
I
it.
knew you knew that, but
City of Tarpon Springs, FL.US, CTSFL.US.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Keep up the good work. You'll get a gold star someday.
Right.
If you're qualified.
I think, you know, Bobby,
Yes, sir.
I'm bringing a sailboat back for the Cancun.
Oh, and you need a deckhand. Oh, lovely, yes, I can do that, I've done it before. When we leave. Hey, honey, anytime you open the door like that, just step in. Yes, sir, you won't be here when?
you look for library.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay? And
Okay,
what
do
it
me a favor,
does
if you find that
is
you
it
are
shows
going
you
to,
all the
just
state.
send me an email, and copy Miss Beth.
Then it shows you
Our
all
email address, our emails are pretty simple.
our code of ordinance. And then you're just in our stuff. And from there, there's a search box. Type like 40.00.
Yeah.
And it's gonna find you all the ordinances that have 40.00 in them. And you can read them.
And that way we can sure that folks show up, you know, in case the epidemic where everyone goes on your boat or something like that.
I didn't spot him. Oh,
How big is this sailboat you bring back? You didn't say how much fun it was gonna be. See, this is just gonna be fun. That's all that is fun.